What if I told you that a homeless man who slept on freezing park benches, searched trash cans for food, and was ignored by almost everyone he met would one day become a millionaire, best-selling author, and one of the most respected motivational speakers in the country? Sounds impossible, right? But here's the shocking truth. His success didn't begin when he made money. It didn't begin when he got a job. It didn't even begin when he found a home. His success started on the coldest night of his life, when he had absolutely nothing left except one decision that would change everything. This is the incredible story of a homeless man whose secret success shocked everyone around him. And the powerful lesson hidden inside his journey could completely change the way you look at your own life. Stay with me until the end, because what this man discovered while living on the streets might be the exact key you've been searching for to unlock your own success. The homeless man's secret success. On a bitterly cold winter night, a homeless man sat alone beneath a flickering streetlight on a quiet city street. His jacket was worn thin, his shoes were falling apart, and the freezing wind cut through his clothes like a knife. People hurried past him without making eye contact. Some looked away. Others pretended he wasn't there at all. To the world, he appeared to be just another man who had lost everything. What nobody knew was that he carried a secret inside him. A secret that would eventually transform his life and inspire thousands of others. Years later, the same man would stand on stages, speak to packed audiences, and become a symbol of resilience and success. But on that night, sitting alone in the cold, nobody could have imagined what was about to happen. His name was Michael Carter, and his life had not always been this way. Several years earlier, Michael had lived what many would consider an ordinary but comfortable life. He had a stable job at a growing company, a modest apartment, a reliable car, and dreams for the future. He wasn't wealthy, but he paid his bills on time and enjoyed the security that came from knowing where his next paycheck would come from. Every morning, he woke up at 6 o'clock, drank coffee, and drove to work. His life followed a predictable routine, and he believed that routine would continue forever. Like many people, he assumed stability was permanent. He never imagined how quickly everything could change. One ordinary afternoon, Michael was called into his manager's office. The company had been facing financial problems, and management had decided to make significant cuts. Several departments were being eliminated, and many employees would lose their jobs. Michael listened quietly as his manager explained that his position was no longer needed. After 8 years of loyal service, he was being laid off. The words felt unreal. He sat there in silence, unable to process what he was hearing. A few minutes later, he packed his belongings into a cardboard box and walked out of the building for the last time. As he crossed the parking lot, he felt a knot forming in his stomach. Deep down, he sensed that his life had just changed forever. At first, Michael remained optimistic. He believed his experience and work ethic would help him find another job quickly. He updated his resume, submitted applications, and attended interviews. Every morning, he woke up determined to continue his search. He told himself that setbacks were temporary and that something better would come along soon. However, as days turned into weeks and weeks turned into months, his confidence began to fade. Rejection emails filled his inbox. Phone calls stopped coming. Companies that had seemed interested suddenly disappeared. Each rejection chipped away at his self-esteem. The future that once seemed certain now felt frighteningly uncertain. As unemployment dragged on, Michael's savings began to disappear. Rent payments became difficult to make, and bills started piling up. Every month brought new financial pressure. To survive, he began selling his possessions. First, he sold his television, then his furniture. Eventually, he sold his car. Watching his belongings disappear one by one felt like watching pieces of his life vanish. Each item carried memories and represented years of hard work. Yet he had no choice. Survival came first. Despite his efforts, the money never seemed to last long enough. One morning, Michael opened his mailbox and found an eviction notice. His rent was overdue, and the landlord demanded immediate payment. Michael stared at the paper for what felt like hours. His hands trembled as reality sank in. He had no savings left and no income to rely on. For the first time in his life, he felt completely powerless. The walls of his apartment seemed to close in around him. Questions raced through his mind. How had everything fallen apart so quickly? How had a man who once lived comfortably reached this point? No matter how hard he searched for answers, none seemed to ease the pain. A few weeks later, Michael carried his remaining belongings out of the apartment. Everything he owned fit inside a backpack and 2 small bags. As he closed the door behind him, he paused for a moment and looked back. The apartment had once represented security and independence. Now it was another chapter coming to an end. He walked away slowly, unsure of where he would sleep that night. Fear followed him with every step. The future felt like a dark road stretching endlessly ahead. The first nights of homelessness were the hardest. Michael slept in shelters whenever space was available, but shelters were often overcrowded. When no beds were available, He slept on park benches, bus stops, and abandoned buildings. The cold nights felt endless. Hunger became a constant companion. More painful than the physical discomfort, however, was the loneliness. He felt invisible. People avoided looking at him. Friends stopped calling. Society seemed to move forward while he remained stuck. Every day felt like a battle against hopelessness. As months passed, Michael began observing the people around him. Many of the homeless individuals he met had experienced terrible hardships. Some had lost jobs, others had suffered family tragedies, and many struggled with addiction or illness. Michael listened to countless conversations filled with frustration and regret. People spent hours discussing everything that had gone wrong in their lives. They blamed circumstances, bad luck, and other people. While many of their complaints were understandable, Michael noticed something important. Complaining never changed anything. No matter how much people talked about their problems, their situations remained the same. One particularly cold evening, Michael sat outside a public library seeking shelter from the wind. As he watched people enter and leave the building, he noticed a businessman walking confidently down the sidewalk. The man looked successful, focused, and determined. Michael found himself wondering what separated that businessman from him. Was it intelligence, education, luck, opportunity? The question stayed with him long after the businessman disappeared from view. That simple question would become the beginning of a remarkable transformation. The next morning, Michael entered the library. At first, he simply wanted a warm place to spend the day. But as he wandered through the aisles, he found himself surrounded by thousands of books. Every shelf contained knowledge, ideas, lessons, and stories. For the first time in months, he felt a spark of curiosity. He picked up a book about personal development and sat down to read. What started as a way to pass the time quickly became something much more powerful. The words on those pages challenged his thinking. They introduced new perspectives and possibilities. By the end of the day, Michael knew he had discovered something valuable. Reading soon became a daily habit. Every morning, Michael arrived at the library when it opened. Every evening, he stayed until closing time. He read books about success, psychology, leadership, communication, business, finance, and self-improvement. While others focused on their limitations, Michael focused on growth. While others complained about their circumstances, he searched for solutions. Each book expanded his understanding of the world. Each lesson strengthened his mindset. Slowly, his thinking began to change. Although his external situation remained difficult, something inside him was improving. He was still homeless. He still faced uncertainty every day. Yet mentally, he felt stronger than before. The knowledge he gained gave him hope. It reminded him that circumstances could change. He began carrying a notebook where he wrote important ideas and quotes. One quote became his favorite. "Your current situation is not your final destination." He read those words every day. Whenever doubt appeared, that sentence reminded him to keep moving forward. As his mindset evolved, his actions changed as well. Michael stopped waiting for opportunities to appear and started creating them. He volunteered at community centers, helped organize local events, and assisted wherever he could. Many people questioned why he worked so hard without receiving payment. Michael understood something they didn't. Every act of service was building relationships. Every interaction was building trust. Every opportunity to help someone was teaching valuable skills. He viewed every experience as an investment in his future. Months later, a local business owner noticed Michael's dedication. The owner had seen him volunteering consistently and admired his work ethic. Michael always arrived early, worked hard, and maintained a positive attitude despite his challenges. Impressed by his character, the business owner offered him a part-time job cleaning office buildings after business hours. The position wasn't glamorous, and the pay wasn't impressive, but Michael accepted immediately. He understood that opportunities often arrive disguised as small beginnings. Although his external situation remained difficult, something inside him was improving. He was still homeless. He still faced uncertainty every day. Yet mentally, he felt stronger than before. The knowledge he gained gave him hope. It reminded him that circumstances could change. He began carrying a notebook where he wrote important ideas and quotes. One quote became his favorite. "Your current situation is not your final destination." He read those words every day. Whenever doubt appeared, that sentence reminded him to keep moving forward. As his mindset evolved, his actions changed as well. Michael stopped waiting for opportunities to appear and started creating them. He volunteered at community centers, helped organize local events, and assisted wherever he could. Many people questioned why he worked so hard without receiving payment. Michael understood something they didn't. Every act of service was building relationships. Every interaction was building trust. Every opportunity to help someone was teaching valuable skills. He viewed every experience as an investment in his future. Months later, a local business owner noticed Michael's dedication. The owner had seen him volunteering consistently and admired his work ethic. Michael always arrived early, worked hard, and maintained a positive attitude despite his challenges. Impressed by his character, the business owner offered him a part-time job cleaning office buildings after business hours. The position wasn't glamorous, and the pay wasn't impressive, but Michael accepted immediately. He understood that opportunities often arrive disguised as small beginnings. Michael approached his new job with complete dedication. He arrived early, stayed late, and performed every task to the best of his ability. While many people viewed the position as insignificant, Michael saw it as a stepping stone. Every paycheck represented progress. Every shift brought him closer to stability. More importantly, the job restored his sense of purpose. For the first time in years, he felt momentum returning to his life. Even after securing employment, Michael never stopped learning. He continued spending hours reading books and studying successful people. While others spent their evenings watching television, Michael invested his time in personal growth. He understood that knowledge compounds over time. Small improvements made consistently eventually produce extraordinary results. This belief became the foundation of his success. Over the next year, Michael saved nearly every dollar he earned. He avoided unnecessary expenses and lived with extreme discipline. Eventually, he saved enough money to rent a small room. The day he received the key felt like a major victory. It wasn't a luxury apartment, but it represented independence, security, and a fresh start. Standing inside that room, Michael reflected on how far he had come. The journey had been painful, but it had also transformed him. Most people would have been satisfied with achieving stability. Michael wasn't. His experiences had awakened a deeper purpose. He wanted to share what he had learned with others. He began writing articles online about resilience, perseverance, and overcoming adversity. At first, almost nobody read them. The audience was small and progress was slow. Yet Michael continued writing. He wasn't focused on immediate success. He was focused on helping people and improving his craft. Month after month, his audience grew. Readers connected with his honesty and authenticity. Unlike many motivational writers, Michael spoke from real experience. He understood pain, failure, and uncertainty because he had lived through them. His words carried weight because they were rooted in truth. People from around the world began sharing his articles. Messages flooded his inbox from readers who felt inspired by his story. One day, one of Michael's articles went viral. Millions of people read it within days. Suddenly, opportunities began appearing everywhere. Organizations invited him to speak at conferences. Schools asked him to motivate students. Businesses hired him to inspire employees. The man who had once been ignored on a park bench was now standing in front of thousands of people, sharing lessons learned during the darkest chapter of his life. As years passed, Michael built a successful career as an author, speaker, and mentor. His books sold internationally. His seminars attracted large audiences. Financial success followed naturally. Yet despite everything he achieved, he never forgot where he came from. He never forgot the cold nights, the hunger, or the loneliness. Those experiences remained part of his story and served as constant reminders of the importance of resilience. During an interview, a reporter once asked Michael a simple question. What was the secret to your success? The audience expected him to mention business strategies, financial planning, or networking. Instead, Michael smiled and replied, "I kept growing when nobody was watching." His answer surprised everyone. Yet it perfectly captured the truth. Success wasn't created when he stood on stages or wrote best-selling books. Success was created years earlier in a quiet library when he chose growth over despair. Michael explained that most people want visible results, but few are willing to do invisible work. They want success without struggle, rewards without sacrifice, and recognition without effort. The reality is that true success is built long before anyone notices. It develops through daily habits, disciplined actions, and consistent learning. The public only sees the outcome. They rarely see the years of preparation behind it. Years later, Michael returned to the same park where he had once slept on a bench. The bench was still there. The streetlight still flickered in the darkness. He sat quietly and reflected on the journey that had brought him back. The homeless man he once was felt like a distant memory, yet the lessons remained as powerful as ever. He realized that success wasn't really about money or recognition. It was about becoming stronger, wiser, and more resilient. As he prepared to leave, Michael noticed another homeless man sitting nearby. The man looked exhausted and discouraged. Michael approached him, handed him a book, and shared a few words that had changed his own life years earlier. He said, "Your future doesn't care where you are today. It only cares about where you're willing to go." The man looked at him with surprise. Michael smiled because he remembered feeling exactly the same way. The secret to Michael's success was never really a secret. It was a choice available to everyone. He chose growth instead of excuses. He chose learning instead of complaining. He chose discipline instead of surrender. Those choices transformed his future. His story reminds us that circumstances may shape our lives, but they do not define our destiny. No matter how difficult today may seem, tomorrow can be different if we continue moving forward. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Zenvoro Mind for more powerful motivational stories that can transform your mindset and help you unlock your true potential.